The weather's warming up, summer is here, and I don't want to turn on the oven inside, but I want meatloaf. So today, I'm going to be making barbecue meatloaf smoked on the Weber Kettle. So let's get started getting this meatloaf ready, and the first parts we need to get ready don't even have anything to do with meat. We got to get our veggies ready because we're going to be filling this meatloaf with some great flavors. So we're going to be starting with half of a red onion here, and I'm just going to chop this. We're not doing a dice, and again, go ahead and laugh at my knife skills. I have no knife skills. Just want to break these down into kind of bite-sized pieces. We don't want any huge chunks of red onion, but we also don't want them too small because we want some of that texture that they're going to bring inside the meatloaf even after we saute them. Just about like that. Let's move on to our mushrooms. So we're going to be using two different kinds of mushrooms today. We got one big Portobello cap and some Shiitakes. I'm just going to work with the Portobello first. Take the stem off. We're using that, it's good. Again, we're just breaking these down into smaller pieces. Let's go over to our Shiitakes, same thing. Just gonna break everything down. If any big pieces slip through, they're gonna get sauteed in that pan, they're gonna shrink up. We're just trying to do our best here. There we go, we have our Portobello and our Shiitake. Let's get these sauteed up. So I want to get just maybe a couple tablespoons of olive oil into my skillet here. If you don't like olive oil, use a canola oil, a vegetable oil, something like that. I want to let my oil heat up here. I'm going to go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. Got a quick stir. Going to get our red onions in. I'm going to add maybe another tablespoon of olive oil. And if you're wondering, I have my induction burner set on power level 4 right now. Just going to let these sweat down for about a minute more before we add our mushrooms. Okay, we're going to add our mushrooms, but first I want to just give a little shake of some cracked black pepper. It's just to taste, no measurement there. Let's get our mushrooms in here. I'm going to add another maybe tablespoon of olive oil, and the reason I do it this way is it's easy to add olive oil or any oil. It's really hard to get it out of there if you add too much at the beginning. Great smell. Love the smell of sauteed mushrooms. All right, I'm going to reduce the heat to power level 3, and I'm going to put the lid on this for about 3 or 4 minutes. All right, let's give these a check. Getting some nice color there, they're softening up. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to actually turn the heat off, take these off, and we're gonna let these sit covered for probably 15 minutes to continue softening up and cool down a little bit. And then we're gonna add them to our ground beef and make our meatloaf. All right, so we have 3 pounds of very cold 80/20 ground beef here, and I'm just gonna start adding our ingredients to this. The first is going to be 1 lightly beaten egg. Next ingredient is a 1/4 cup of bacon ketchup. Now I made this about a week ago. I did a video on making your own ketchup, and bacon ketchup was part of that. I'll put a link to that in the video description and up in the corner here if you want to check out that video. If you don't want to make bacon ketchup or you don't have that, just use regular ketchup or any other sort of similar thing you like, barbecue sauce, whatever. I'm also going to add a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. We may add more breadcrumbs later depending on the consistency of this, but we're going to start with a 1/4 cup. And we're going to add our mushroom onion mixture. And now we're going to start mixing. Get everybody together in here. Take your time and really work this. We want all of these ingredients mixed throughout this ground beef. Anything sticking to the side of the bowl, get it back into the mix. And I do want to add some more breadcrumbs now, so I'm going to add maybe 1/8 of a cup and maybe more after that. I'll work these in here. And if you see onions and mushrooms sticking out the sides, that's fine. That's the way it's supposed to be. I think I'm going to add the rest of that 1/4 cup, so we will have used a total of a 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs. All right, that looks good to me. It's time to get it on our grill rack so we can get it out to the Weber Kettle. All right, so I have my trusty old weathered grill rack here. This is just a nice thing that lifts up. You can set it on the grill. Works great for things like meatloaf, vegetables. We're gonna go ahead and get our meat mixture on here, and we're just gonna form it into the size of loaf we want. And I wanna try and keep it in the center here because there are gonna be briquette baskets on either side of this. Roughly uniform shape. You can see all those great onions and mushrooms poking through, but we're not done with this yet. There's gonna be some more great flavor on this. First, I wanna give this a light brushing of a barbecue sauce. This is a honey maple barbecue sauce that I made a couple weeks ago. I'll put a link in the video description so you can see what that was like to make. It was very easy and it's tasty. I'm just gonna give first a nice light brushing of it. Okay, that looks good for this stage, but we're not done with the barbecue sauce yet. We have to add another ingredient on the surface of this. What I have here are some thin strips of prosciutto. I'm just gonna lay these on here in random patterns. There's no rhyme or reason to this. Just trying to create an irregular lace of this prosciutto over the top of this meatloaf. Maybe something like that. We don't want to cover the whole thing with it. And now, barbecue sauce on top of this. Want to make sure this prosciutto has a good glaze of this barbecue sauce on it, just like the rest of the meatloaf. All right, let's make sure we didn't miss anywhere. All right, this looks fantastic. Let's get it out to the Weber Kettle. All right, the Weber Kettle's running just over 400 degrees, which is a little high for what I want. I'm actually shooting for a temperature in the 350-ish degree range, but this will moderate once we adjust the vents. So let's go ahead and get our meatloaf on. So I have the Weber Kettle set up with 2 briquette baskets and my ambient temperature probe and a little bit of foil in the center to catch some drips. Now before I put this meatloaf on, I want to get a couple sticks of olive wood on here for smoke today. And I want to do that first because I have to close the wings in order to put the grill grate on. .6 degrees, 51.5. That looks right. We had that meat out of the refrigerator for about 15 minutes, working it, adding in some room temperature ingredients, so I think we hit a good spot. All right, our sticks of olive wood have caught. Let's go ahead and get the lid on and get smoking. My top vent is in the fully open position. My bottom vent is in the 2/3 open position. As I mentioned, the kettle temperature I'm shooting for today is right around 350, so I'll adjust the vents as necessary to get into that range. 325 to 375, I'll be happy. The ultimate internal temperature we're going for on this meatloaf is 165 degrees. It's ground meat that's been handled and things added to it. That's a safe temperature for it. My guess is it's going to take somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours. I'll see you back here when we're getting close to that 165 internal. All right, the Weber Kettle's at about 328 now. It's been dropping a bit, and I've just let it go because we're getting so close to being done. Internal temperature on the meatloaf's 161 and rising. So we're gonna be checking this in just a second. All right, we've hit 165. Let's have a look. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, look at that color. That looks fantastic. It smells really good too. I'm gonna do a quick check with the Thermapen. Just confirm some temps. Yeah, down at the end we're at 170, so yeah, we are good. All right, we're gonna get this off, get it inside, let it rest for about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna have a taste. All right, here we go. Our barbecue meatloaf smoked on the Weber Kettle. Ended up taking about an hour and 40 minutes total time. Great color on this, nice crispy prosciutto there. I think we're just gonna cut into it. All right, let's go. right down the center here. Oop, we're gonna lose a piece of prosciutto. But hold on, let's treat it like bacon. Oh man, it's like candied. Look at that, all those mushrooms and onions in there. Oh man, I need to cut a slice of this. Oh, look at that. Oh man, the smell on this, the looks of it. I've just had that little taste of that crispy prosciutto on the outside. I want to get some of the rest. It's time to taste. All right, I am really looking forward to this. That little taste of that prosciutto was not enough for me. I want some of the whole meatloaf here. And here we go. I gotta tell you, that combination of mushroom and onion on the inside is a great flavor mix with that ground beef. And that bacon ketchup on the inside does not hurt either. I love those little bites of mushroom. It is that added texture inside the meatloaf. So you're not just having ground meat. There's something else there in the bite. Just so good. Now, I didn't add any additional salt to this because there's already salt in that ketchup that we put on the inside. And there's salt in the barbecue sauce. The prosciutto is salty. But if you wanted to, you could add some salt to the meat mixture to get more salt on the inside. I don't think it needs it, but if you want it, go for it. And I gotta tell you, those crispy bits of prosciutto on the outside with that barbecue sauce glaze on them, they're just like, almost like bacon candy, but prosciutto. And if you've ever done bacon wrapped meatloaf, which I've done in the past, you'll understand that that little sort of outside wrapping that you give it is the extra dimension of flavor and texture that takes it even more beyond meatloaf. So if you want meatloaf, but it's too hot to fire up the oven inside, fire up the grill. If you can, smoke it. Olive wood is great with beef. Just give it that time to get to the right internal temperature. Have some great sauce. Nothing like grilled meatloaf.